and just them, they're disciplined to, to stick with it, to see the other side.
Right.
So like I kudos them too, because I can preach at you all day, but it's on you to execute. It's on you to actually get out here and implement what you've learned.
Right.
And seeing our boys do that is huge. I got a couple just that hit me the other day with their semester grades at Whitewater. 3.8, 3.7. Coach, they about to pay me to go to school. Like, exactly. You ain't even playing a sport, dude. It's just about what we talked about. Doing good in class.
Right. We're doing good. Welcome back to another episode of the sYourMotivePodcast. I finally was able to track this man down. Busy guy, doing a lot right now. He's a head varsity boys basketball coach at Messmer High School, my alma mater. Super happy that he's in that position as well. He just came off of 2 huge wins against Kingdom Prep yesterday. Came down to the wire. I was in attendance for that one. That was great. Sure. A lot of great execution, as well as University School on Friday.
Yep.
On Friday, came out with a big win there. That was pretty entertaining. It was super entertaining. I like that. He's an 05 graduate like myself. Man,
sir,
we finally got somebody 20 years out of high school. It's crazy. And a 2-time state champ with Dominican, 04 and 05. Yep. Correct.
Back to back.
Hey, just know I've been doing my research, but I also remember a lot of this stuff because I was in school at that time. He had a lot of great individuals on that team as well. J.R. Blount and I used to play in NCSL when we were younger, and he was always a man-child. Brandon Brown. Did you play Ray T?
Yes. No, Ray T was right before us. Yeah, right before me.
you.
So I was at Brown Deer when Ray T was
Rob Perry.
Yes, sir.
Rob Perry. I'm forgetting some other people, but I got a great guy here, family man. Wonderful coach, always trying to build up young men. Super appreciative to be able to forge a relationship. I mean, I think we played with each other maybe a few times in open gyms, but I don't know what it is, but we've been connected, and if we don't see each other for a while, it's just like, it just, we connect right back like where we left off at. So Please welcome the great Ben Hailey.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having me, man. So it's a blessing to be here.
Yes, how you doing today, man?
Good, man. Good Sunday after a good win yesterday, a Saturday conference game. Like I said, blessed, man. It's truly blessed.
Truly blessed, man. I appreciate you for pulling up on me, man. I know we've been, our schedules kind of, vacillate all the time with a lot of stuff that we got going on, but I'm just so happy we're able to make it happen. And for starters, though, just know you're a prominent figure, for sure. For those that may not, tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, I did not know that.
Yeah, man. So I was born and raised in Cincinnati. Had a great upbringing with moms there. My grandma was a big part of my life growing up. So if my mom wasn't home, I was always with grandma. You know how granny get down. Stayed in Cincinnati till about 6th grade. Mom got the calling for a life-changing opportunity here in Milwaukee with a job that she was offered. So we moved up here. My to-be 7th grade year. Enrolled in Brown Deer. And that was probably one of the most diverse years of my life. I was coming from an all-black environment. To go to Brown Deer, where there's a 60-40 split with black and white kids in the building, really opened my eyes to a brand new world. Being here in Wisconsin, stayed at Brown Deer for 2 years, middle school, went to Brown Deer High School for 2 years, ended up transferring to Dominican. So I was at Dominican for my junior and senior year, won state there with Paul Wallersheim, and like you said, JR and Brandon Brown, Kwame Mitchell.
I forgot about Kwame.
Yeah, I was in Rob Perry, just like you mentioned. So I had a great high school experience here. Got the chance to go to 2 schools, public school, Brown Deer, and then the Catholic environment with Dominican.
Yeah.
So it was dope being able to see both sides. Ended up getting a college scholarship to Minnesota State Mankato.
Yep.
Played at Mankato, who just actually won a NCAA national championship. So shout out to Cato.
Shout out to Cato.
For sure. Shout out to Mark and Thaler and Coach Schott. Those guys coached me while I was there, so they're still there, which is dope for that campus. And was blessed, man. I was blessed to be in those environments, to get a lot of experience in this game, a lot of life experience as well from those things.
Got you. So Cincinnati, do you remember a lot from your childhood in Cincinnati in terms of like the school and the environment and what you did there, as opposed, like, place them in juxtaposition and comparing Cincinnati to like Milwaukee? were you like in the inner city?
Yeah, man, I was in the inner city. I was in a suburb, as you can call Roseline.
Okay.
And it's really a hood. It's not a suburb.
Gotcha.
It's a hood. So it was in Roseline, right next to Bond Hill, right next to Avondale. Still very familiar with the area because my family still lives there.
Gotcha.
So I go back all the time for every holiday. But yeah, a dope city, very similar to Milwaukee.
Very similar?
Yep, very similar. I just wasn't on the diverse side of that city.
Got you. What was it like when you finally came to Milwaukee and, like you said, you start seeing a 60-40 split in terms of like the diversity pieces? Because obviously we know Milwaukee is one of the most segregated cities, right? But for you to come in 6th or 7th grade and you like, hold on, this is somewhat of a melting pot here as opposed to what I've seen in Cincinnati. What was your thoughts on that?
It was a big difference in the classroom. First off, my education became different. It was more focus based, whereas when I was in Cincinnati, it was a little bit more loose. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't as structured. So I came here to a very much structured environment in Brown Deer. A lot more opportunity, when you get to be in that suburb situation as opposed to the inner city. So I was granted opportunities that maybe somebody else in Cincinnati wouldn't have gotten in my situation.
Gotcha.
So that was the biggest eye opener. And then people took heed to my talent in Wisconsin a little bit more because I was playing amongst kids that weren't as good. You know what I'm saying? So in Cincinnati, it was nobody coming to watch. In Brown Deer, there was people there, and they were like, "Oh, who is that? Okay, he's better than the kids at Stephen.
Exposure.
Exactly. He's better than the kids at Grafton, et cetera, et cetera." So that type of exposure led to the opportunities that I talked about earlier, and that was the biggest difference, man. The biggest difference coming from Cincinnati for sure.
Okay, so you went to Brown Deer Middle School?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
2 years at Brown Deer High School.
And then 2 years at Brown Deer High School. So if you could think back to those 2 years at Brown Deer High School versus your last 2 years at Dominican, this was before the rule, right?
Correct. Oh, yeah.
So you could transfer.
So the rule was pretty much me and Corey Lucius kind of made that rule. So I'll touch on that later. But yeah, kind of the rule was not established yet at all.
Right. So you were able to just transfer and play.
Yes, sir.
And did you leave after your sophomore year?
Correct. Left right after sophomore year. So I actually went to state with Brown Deer as a freshman with Steve Novak.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yep. So me, Steve, Milton Austin, we all went to state freshman year, came up short against Madison Edgewood, who had 2 D1 football players at the time. It was nasty. But Steve was just tripled and quadruple teamed, so it made it tough for him.
Right.
So yeah, I went to Brown Deer for those 2 years and then transferred.
I know you said, so Brown Deer was public, Dominican is private. What was like the biggest difference besides like, the religious aspect?
Classroom size.
Smaller.
Much smaller. So obviously the enrollment at Dominican is smaller. But when you get into the classroom now, you got 18 to 20, as opposed to 29 to 35.
Gotcha.
Where you at Brown Deer, it's a lot of people in the classroom. You might be afraid to ask questions.
Gotcha.
You might be afraid of the scrutiny of getting the wrong answer. Where at Dominican, it didn't matter. You had to answer the question. It was only 18 of you in there anyway. So
18 to 1 is a good ratio, right?
You got it. So it was much more focus based again. So I got a lot more attention.
Man.
So the attention was like, okay, you don't understand this aspect. Let me come over and talk to you, and these 17 other kids can still work on this project without missing a beat.
Super beneficial.
Very much so. Very much so. My grades actually got better at Dominican as opposed to Brown Deer.
Gotcha.
Because there's 3 class clowns in Brown Deer that can't be controlled, as opposed to the small environment at Dominican where Sister Peggy was like, hey, calming down. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Sister Peggy, too.
Shout out to Sister Peggy.
Very, very real person that influenced my life a lot. So, like, her telling us to calm it down, like, God sees this, et cetera, et cetera. Like, even the religious base.
Right.
It focuses you
it
a
played
little
a
bit more.
point. It
Very
played a
much so.
part in there because of that. But that small, I agree with you, those small classroom sizes really make a difference, especially in terms of, like, academic development.
For sure.
And then you can keep a lot of stuff in pocket versus it being 25, 30 kids
You got it.
in a classroom is tough. Shout out to those teachers that are, overcoming and trying to do their best in that. But best believe, like, I'm just happy that you were able to get both sides. Like,
Agreed.
That allows you to be more diverse, right, in everything that you kind of
sure.
like do with kids.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
Man. And before we start talking about the coaching, like, what are you doing now at Messmer beyond just coaching?
So beyond coaching right now, I am over the academic support team at Messmer. So we are in the classroom making sure that our kids are getting acclimated to our curriculum, that they understand our curriculum, they understand what we require in order to be great.
Gotcha.
Our curriculum is not NPS based. It is not like any other suburban school. It's a little bit tougher.
Agreed.
Right. So when you come in, you need to be focused, and we are in the classroom to make sure of that. We are also pulling children that may be struggling and just saying, hey, here's a plan. This is what we're going to do organizational wise. This is what we're going to do time wise at home. This is how we're going to help you get to where we know you can be.
Right.
Because we don't just accept anybody at Messmer either.
This is true. This is true.
There is an application process. There is a meeting process where you have
interviewing.
You got it. You got to go see
still do
Shanora.
that.
You got to go meet Mr. K. You got to go meet Abby. And they have to see if you are a true character that we want to bring in.
Absolutely.
And that's the best thing about Messmer. So it has completely grabbed my whole heart.
Gotcha.
So I'm in there loving it, loving every minute of it. But yeah, I'm over academic support. I actually got my assistant coach with me as well. So he's in there. Kari Coverson is in there with me. And it's just a great team of individuals trying to see over, like, make sure these kids get what they need for sure.
Yeah, and trust and believe that your impact is it resounds outside of the school, man. Because like obviously, you know, I still talk to a lot of alumni and things like that, but I'm always talking to them about you, and just like even with the Tot Lot thing, like you made it all happen. Like you were a super big piece in allowing that to happen and making that happen and making it come to fruition. And I see when you work with the young men and all on Messmer, you're posting like, dude, like you put me to shame as an alumni.
Not at all.
Like,
Stop
like
it.
no,
Stop.
seriously. I mean, I know I taught, but like I be looking like, man, Ben is killing it.
Yeah, we
and
trying,
I let
man.
people know that, and I appreciate that, and I love that. And one thing that I do, like you said about Messmer, is one thing they do have like some high standards, and they're always really trying to vet these kids to be like, hey, I want to let you know what you're actually getting into and what we can. We can help you
for sure,
but we got to make sure that you got that in you, that intrinsic motivation for sure.
Exactly.
So, no, you know, shout out to you. So, how did you even get into coaching? Like, what made you want to coach?
Obviously, I played, right? So
sure.
I was a player for all my life. Once the playing days is over, you kind of you fall back. I was in the banking industry for a long time in my life, for over a decade. So before I made the switch from banking to education, I was in banking forever. And you just sit there and plot on how you can get back into the game. You know, I didn't want to be one of those guys at 28, 29, 30 that was washed professionally wise, still trying to go to combines, trying to figure out how I'm gonna get back overseas for this 45,000 or 55,000 and be 20,000 miles away from moms, you know.
Right.
And then JR. You know, JR was winning national championships at Stevens Point.
Yep.
He got the job at St. Leo.
Yes.
He gets over to Creighton, man. To Drake.
Drake, yep.
And then he gets over to Colorado State. And I'm just watching his voyage over the years, and I'm like, man, I got to get back in the game.
Got the itch.
Yeah, so I hit him up. You know, I asked him, you know, what's some of the NCAA criteria? You know, just vet me on what I can do going forward to make sure that I'm in the know of everything. He gave me the free game that I needed. That also motivated me. So I reached out to a couple of my contacts. Obviously, I got a bunch of contacts in basketball.
Right.
And they said, come on, let's go. So I started young. I started with some 7th and 8th graders.
Okay.
Just building the fundamental stuff with those guys in AAU.
Yeah.
The AAU scene really, really gets you ready for coaching because it's a nonstop summer thing where you got practice 3 times a week. You got to have your weekends open. You got to be able to try to figure out how to develop these kids outside of those practice times. So that helped a lot.
Gotcha.
I was with an organization called TNBA.
TNBA?
Shout out to Lance, the National Basketball Academy.
Shout out to Lance, yep.
Lance is also over the Bucks. He does a bunch of junior Bucks camps.
Yep.
So a great guy that put me into it. Jordan Kappen as well. Another guy that has great ties with Shorewood as well as the junior Bucks. They just continue to push me.
Gotcha.
They said, we want you to do this. We want you to do that. You know you can. You've got the experience. So those type of pushes just kept me going. And then the motivation from Jay, like I said, was huge. Seeing him on the forefront, wanting to be there in that environment. That's what fueled it.
That's what fueled it for the coaching.
You got it.
How helpful, how beneficial is that to be able to have somebody like JR and the other people to be able to be a resource for you as far as you coming along as a coach?
It's huge. It's huge, man, because they're a text away. It's the best thing about this technological era. A text message or a FaceTime call away, and I can get all the free game. You know, from the top of the top. You know, Iowa State is ranked number 3 in the country right now.
Doing their thing.
So there's really no experience he doesn't have in that level. And I believe he's probably been ranked number 1 in the country at some point at Iowa State.
Right.
So being able to call him, another ally that I have is Wes Matthews. You know, Wes Matthews spent all those years in the NBA. I can call him, his teammate Gerard Ajami.
Jami with UWM.
You got it.
Played with Jami a lot.
Know it. Yeah. So those dudes I can just give a call to and say, hey, man, what are you thinking about this? What are you thinking about how I moved in this situation? So they're very, very beneficial. And keeping me grounded, too, you know, because JR, you can see them go on a 15-point run and he won't react. So I'm like, dude, how do you just not react? Teach me how to sit still.
Right.
Because you've been in my games. You
Right.
know, I'm passionate, so I'm up
For
and down
sure.
the sidelines.
Absolutely. Working up a sweat.
Yeah, so just having those guys, to say, hey, coach the defense. Take the offense off. Make sure you understand practice is huge. Go crazy in practice with offense, but then coach the defense in the game.
Coach the defense in the game.
Then you get a little bit more timid. You get a little bit more laid back, as I could say, as far as what JR is. So yeah, those guys are huge, man.
No. You know why that makes my heart smile though, Ben, is because there's no gatekeeping there. And I think a lot of times, and I'm not to put down our people and things like that, or just people that we come in contact with, but a lot of times it seems like some gatekeeping, like where we want to share information. Mm-hmm. But you and I have talked, and you've shared a lot of information with me, and then for you to still be having that and be so resourceful and have different individuals that are the same way, speaks a lot, man. And I'm happy for that, and I want the kids to actually see that and know that those relationships matter.
For sure.
In terms of just everything they're trying to do. So thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah, of course, man.
Shout out JR and them, man, for real.
For real.
How do you find yourself going about motivating a lot of the players during difficult situations or intense times in the games or even in school?
Transparency is key.
Okay.
Transparency is key. We in the environment that my school is in. Number one, I chose this environment. I was in Shorewood for my first 3 years of coaching varsity basketball, and great school, great environment, but entitlement is huge there. Entitlement is huge there. We'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
And then when I get to go here at Messmer, I get to see the true hearts of these kids. I get to see their true best effort, so it makes it easy to be relatable to them and tell them my story.
Got you.
Where I can say, hey, I messed up in this part too. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to fix it together, though.
Got you.
The constant encouragement in them, making sure that you do see them, even a hello.
Right.
I got some kids that really don't open up to any of the teachers, but then in the hallways, they'll say, what up, coach? And some of the teachers are looking around and say, did he talk to you?
Right.
It's just a simple hi every day. So that goes a long way with them, just noticing them. To make sure that they understand you are somebody and you can be somebody.
Right.
Is huge. But the constant encouragement and then making sure that they also understand this isn't for play.
Right.
This is your future. This is what creates a successful black person.
Right.
Whether it be man or woman in our school. And making sure that they understand the values and the habits and the mannerisms that you possess now are going to go forward. I still got the same mannerisms that I had in high school. I'm trying to correct some of them.
For sure.
How we become,
trying to unlearn some things, right?
For sure. So I'm like, don't even go down that path right now.
Right.
Let's just go down the path of I'm gonna do my homework tonight. Let's just,
even when I don't want to.
Right. Even when the game is having a 2K tournament.
Yeah. Yes.
We gonna do our homework and then get on the 2K. It'll be there. So just a constant encouragement for the kids, letting them know we've been in this situation. Mm-hmm. You are not alone. Mm-hmm. Mom and dad were frustrated. Because you can't bash home. That's one thing we try not to do at Messmer, very much so, is don't bash at home.
Right.
Because it's a lot of people that say, oh, don't listen to them. Don't listen to your uncle. They were frustrated.
Yeah.
They went about it the wrong way.
For sure.
But it's out of love.
For sure.
And keeping it there, grounding it in love, grounding it in encouragement. I think that goes a long way with them. Especially in those ruts that they come into. And
with you, being such a pillar of influence around these young men, and you're really trying to grow them beyond just academically and athletically, but even socially, and becoming a young man, a well-rounded young man. Who was someone that influenced you as a male? Yeah. You know what I mean? Who was your influence that kind of put that, imparted or instilled or tried to inculcate some of these values and principles that you possess into you? I was blessed, man. I had a couple male mentors in my life. The biggest one is my godfather. Okay. His name is Jerome Harris. Okay. Engineer. Okay. Okay, so a successful black man that made it from Cincinnati, Ohio, in the trenches of Cincinnati, Ohio, full scholarship to Dayton University, plays football at Dayton University, graduates with honors, goes over to work for Procter & Gamble for years, then worked for Cincinnati Bell, huge telephone company for years. Right now has a very high-paying job in Cincinnati, about to retire. Doesn't want to retire, but was also my basketball coach. Was also my baseball mentor. It didn't matter what it was that I did. He was there. So, and I didn't have my father. So having him there really, really set the tone for how I was going to act, how I was going to go into a situation. How you going to respond to it? A drum's here. Let me get right.
You know what I'm saying? Or drums here, I ain't gonna cry.
Right.
Those type of situations really, really shaped my childhood, having that male influence and him giving the tough love that my mom gave, but it didn't come from a male. You know, so him saying,
Yes. Talk about that.
you ain't gonna play basketball
Right.
without this grade. Don't care what she said.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do this if this is gonna be your reaction. Having him, like I said, just be there, changed mannerisms, changed habits for me. Didn't allow me to conform. He continued to say, "You're left-handed. You're different." I was mad. I was left-handed, bro. So I was like,
You really?
yeah. So when I was young, I was mad. I was trying to do everything right. So if you ever watch my game, I go right every time
Why were you mad though?
because everybody else shot right-handed. I'm like, well, I can't shoot right-handed, dude. He like, because you're left-handed, but you're different. So he got me to accept that fact that I was better than everybody because I was left-handed. So then that shaped my mental. You ain't even left-handed. You know what I'm saying? So in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I made that my attribute. I'm left-handed.
Right.
And then he was like, now you're ambidextrous because you did everything with your right hand for so long. You can go right, and they think you're going to go right, but now you can go left because you're left-handed.
Right.
So those type of thinking patterns, like I said, the instilling of mannerisms inside of me was huge in that male influence. It also instilled in how I act now, where if I don't see that influence, I want to be it, or at least try to give you some type of aspect of you can be better than me.
Got you.
Or you can be better than what you think you are now.
Got you.
Because that's what he instilled in me, for sure.
Dude, you just spoke, and I've said this on some other podcasts with like Vic and some other individuals, Quentin Red, Coach Quentin Red, and things like that. And Quentin grew up in a household where he had like his mom and his dad. And he said his dad was his hero. Vic's father was incarcerated. My father was pretty absent. You feel what I'm saying? And what you just said, it just lets us know like how important that male figurehead is.
Certainly.
And it could definitely be a coach.
Yep.
And to help you become like a man. And, you know, like you said, I'm not going to cry.
Yep.
Let me get myself together because you know there's an expectation coming from that man. My mom could scream at me all day about something.
You got it.
But it's
in one ear out the other sometimes.
right.
Yep.
Man.
It's huge, man.
But you just reiterating the fact that our young boys need a male figurehead that's really going to hold them accountable, show them the way to go, guide them, let them mess up, but also provide that admonishment when it's needed, man.
Yeah. And then we even had, so JR's father, Walter Blount Sr.,
Yeah.
we just call him Coach. And then his brother, Kenny Green, those two were also like our pops. So they were our AAU coaches with Swish. And, you know, they were actually a police officer and a firefighter. So JR's dad is a police officer, retired. Kenny was a firefighter, retired. So we had those two. And those two was just complete tough love. Let me see the grade. What was a C? Oh, that ain't going to work. A C is not going to fly. So JR's household was A's or nothing.
Right.
So luckily, we didn't have to adhere to that. But those type of expectations, like you said, carry weight, especially when it became competition. Well, you know, JR got a 4.0.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I should probably
Try
to figure out a 4.0 because Coach liked 4.0s.
Right.
So like I said, those two dudes were a huge part of our growing up as well, where they instilled our confidence, they instilled the competitiveness in us, and making everything, just that much better growing up because we had them, just to lean on for anything.
Right. So although you were a coach and a teacher and things like that, do you feel like after you just talking about all those influential male individuals in your life, do you feel like it's added pressure or it's just like that's just a part of who you are at this point? Like, this is how I'm supposed to give it back to them just like I was giving it to me.
For sure. I think it's just part of me. And I definitely thank Messmer for a lot of that, for that newfound inspiration too, because you don't know sometimes. Is this my burden? Do I need to give back, or
right.
is this a part?
That's
of
what
me?
I'm saying, right?
For sure, yeah. That's a great question, man, because you get to a rock and a hard place with that. But this is just me. I feel like at this point, it just comes natural. It's what I want to do.
Gotcha.
And I'm blessed to be able to work in my passion and be able to step away from the banking aspect where people got to work until they're 60 and 70 years old. So I think it's just a part of me at this point. It's just in me.
Right.
Sure.
And then the fact that you have your son, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's another thing where it's just like
it just continues.
It
Correct.
just
so in raising him,
uh-huh.
it makes you want to father everything that
right.
that doesn't have that.
Right.
that doesn't have that opportunity because he's got the best of both worlds. He got a mom that cares. He's got a father that's going to be there regardless. And he got a bridge between those two that's not going to break regardless of what their relationship is.
Right.
So like me having that and giving him that, like I said, it makes me want to for sure pour into others as well.
It's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And we need people like you to continue to do that, man.
Agreed.
And I know your heart is pure. I can tell it's genuine. I hear it when I talk to you on a regular basis. When you reach out to me, when I reach out to you, it's just, and I see you with the boys. Sure. I see you in practice. And remember, you even allowed me to bring Walt to practices.
Yeah, man.
And I see how you talk to him. So one day, I want to tell you this, we brought him over a break.
Yep.
And I love this part. So they were getting ready to do a drill with them. And they kept coming by me and Holloway. Mm-hmm. He was like, dude, quick on by your daddy. And I'm thinking like, yes, thank you. I be wanting him to hear that because think about our coaches. Our coaches was hard-nosed, right?
Very much so.
So when you think back now to your time in high school and that brand of basketball to now, how has it changed to you from your viewpoint? Like you've played in college, you played in high school, you remember that. So now you're coaching the high school kids. Like how has the brand of basketball changed in your viewpoint?
Since I was in high school, dramatically, obviously it's that 3-point line. You know, the 3-point line is that makes it completely different. The amount of kids that can shoot that shot at a young age, like even your son, he's got it. He's in 5th grade, and he's not trying as hard as I was in 5th grade to shoot a 3.
Gotcha. I think he's shooting it too much though, but go ahead.
For sure. I mean, all of them. But the pace of the game has picked up. The pace of the game when we was there, the scores was 47-55. You know, we scored 100 points once in 2 years at Dominican.
Right.
And I can remember the game. And then the rest of our scores was 65 points. You know, my team right now average 83 points a game. And that's just normal. It's crazy. Like and we tell our guys, in order to keep up with most teams, you got to score 62 to 75 points in order to just keep up.
That's fast pace, man.
And that's without a shot clock here in Wisconsin. So that's the biggest difference: the pace, the 3-point line, obviously all the social media that they get to see before the game, where we didn't have all that noise. We just had a paper that had the top scores on it that we had to go get from the library to see who scored what in the box scores. So now they got averages and scouting mixtapes and scouting highlight tapes before and after. So they have an added amount of pressure.
Now.
For sure. Oh, my God. We were undefeated and didn't know we were undefeated.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so serious, man. At Dominican, we didn't really even talk about being undefeated.
Just
here, in this day and age, you would never be able to not know it or to not know the next team is coming at you with everything they got because you're undefeated. So like MAS and DePere and Wisco, those kids are great kids, man, because they remain consistent in how they win, even with all the hype, all the noise, all the the critique. Is huge, man. That's the biggest difference, though. The social media aspect, that 3-point line, and then the pace of the game, for sure. Like everybody in the old days, we could kill these kids. You sure? You sure? Like these kids play well, man. Now they don't play as physical as us,
right?
But the skill set, man, the things that they do,
it's different.
It's way different, man.
It's way different.
Yeah.
And so, like, what is your approach? Because I know you do AAU too, right?
Sure, yep.
With Hero.
Yep, Team Hero. Shout out Team Hero.
And your AAU coaching versus your high school coaching, is there a difference, or what is your approaches to them?
Oh yeah,
because I know AAU was a lot different, right?
Way different, yeah. For sure, it's different. AAU, we get to pick the kids, so that's the biggest difference. So we get to pick the kids now. So
right.
It's all killers.
Got you.
Especially with Team Hero. So I get blessed this year. I'm gonna be on the EYBL circuit.
Okay. Congrats on that.
Thank you for that, man. So these are the best kids in the country. So the way you coach them obviously remains the same. Where like for me, you're getting tough love. You're getting told that you need to play defense hard. Your mannerisms matter.
Right.
Professionalism matters. All that stuff is the same. But then when you get out there, you don't have to do as much. These kids grasp the game. They understand it.
Yeah, they good feel for the game.
Right. So the coaches that are doing too much on the sideline in AAU, they'll probably have a developmental team. But where I'm at right now with EYBL, with the top 10 kids in the state being on the same team, being selfless, it's amazing, bro. It's like sometimes you can sit back. Obviously, like I said, you got to coach the little things. You got to make sure you got a good scheme, making sure that your X's and O's are good.
Right.
That's one thing that I pride myself on right now is trying to get my X and O's right.
Got you.
Like, can I draw up something that matter?
Got
Can
you.
I draw up something that's going to be effective in this moment?
Got you.
Those things matter to me. So in AAU, those are where I try to get my coaching strategies better.
Right.
But it's a much easier ball game to do.
Got you.
Much less expectation. Right, because we're here to get better in the summer. This is to get you right for high school, so the expectation isn't as much. And like I said, we get to pick the kids. We get to pick the parents.
We talked about that. We talked about that.
Parents, right? So the parents are part of our culture as well. You travel with us everywhere that we go, so you matter as well. So like I said, it's less scrutinized, a lot more fun, a lot more experience based, especially with EYBL. And then we want to get you exposure.
Right.
I want to make contact with these college coaches. I want to make sure that they understand you're great.
You've been big on that too.
That's the biggest thing, man. So getting these kids to college is huge because some of them think they don't got to go. Some of them think they, I'm going to be able to do this, be an influencer or no. Let's just go to college and get a degree.
And have it paid for.
You got it. And
that's what you said. That's what I remember you said, like, why not get your education paid for?
Exactly. Make your mama proud. So yeah, that exposure piece for AAU and just sitting back and relaxing is a lot easier than high school. High school is much more tougher. You got your film out there. You know, you got your conference opponents where, like in my situation, this is our third year. They know me.
Right.
They know what I want to do. They know what I want to try.
Right.
And vice versa.
Right.
So now you got to up your game a lot more. You get those first 8 games, 9 games in, your film is out there. Now you got to be able to counter those type of situations. You got to be able to adjust on the fly when they switch it up. So like high school is much more difficult. Just like if you were a college coach, it's much more difficult.
Much more difficult.
Be an AAU coach for sure. AAU coach, nobody ever seen you. Tough thing about EYBL though, they do have film, so we can check mannerisms on film with EYBL.
Got you. And you play AAU, right?
Yep.
So it's totally different than when you?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Obviously the money part is bigger. Oh my gosh. The money part is much bigger now.
People are making a living off of this.
Oh my gosh, for sure. Whereas I remember us fundraising.
Yes.
For the last couple
car
of
washes,
you got it.
candy bars.
Right. My parents' people was mad at us because we did so much fundraising, but that's because our directors didn't steal or our directors weren't trying to take off the top. You know, that's the best thing about Hero is that we don't got to worry about that because everybody can see where the money goes.
Got you.
And some AAU organizations just aren't as transparent in that aspect. Where now the money situation is big, so it's a lot more funding behind things. So the tournaments are bigger. They're accepting everyone. Back in our day, it was cutthroat. It was, is your team good? Have they had notoriety nationally? Are we really going to accept 32 teams? Now let's do 24.
Right.
You know, where now it's 52 every single time. So it's ran a little bit differently where like it's not run as well in some aspects, but you got the NY to LAs, you got the prep hoops that do their thing the right way. But it's just so many to pick from because of the money grabs. That's the biggest difference, man. Like there's just so much funding and so much money involved.
So much money.
Imagine paying $1,500 a summer without hotel fees, without gas, without food, just to get on the team. That's where we at. Remember, ours was, $50 registration fee and then fundraising? And the coaches paid everything.
Oh, my gosh.
Pennies. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Driving vans and all that.
Exactly.
Carpooling.
And that's why we try not to overcompensate, especially like shout out to TNBA as well. They did the same thing. We try not to overcompensate. If we can van it, we going to van it. It's going to be better if we didn't, you know what I'm saying? Let's try to make an experience so we can, parents can save a little bit.
Right.
And go to the mall while they're in Minnesota.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the biggest difference.
Man. And then, like, I mean, although, like you said, you tied in with a lot of college coaches, things like that, and you getting these kids moving on to the next level. I mean, the impact of NIL too, right?
Huge. So now, the NIL aspect for the 4 and the 5-star kids, they can select who they want to recruit them based on what they're going to get when they step on campus.
So wait, a lot of the power is in the kids now.
Oh, for sure. And it's a lot of...
is that a good or bad? What do you think? Or is it like in the middle?
Because I was a player, you know, and
Gotcha.
as a player, and watching what happened in college and watching them make billions of dollars.
For sure.
You know, I always think of Kevin Ware. Kevin Ware broke his leg on that Final Four
Yeah.
stage and was never able to be compensated for that at Louisville. So I'm with both aspects. I am with the players where you deserve to be compensated. They're making $1 billion off of you. And then I'm also with the organizations. We need to cap this. There needs to be certain criteria. Does performance come in play when we're paying you? It probably should.
Even at the amateur level, right?
You got it, because we're paying you at this point. So what are we paying you for? Now, I get the endorsement deals where you're being a face, but I want the performance aspect to start coming in there if we're going to pay them. And then also let's get a cap. But like I said, with the recruiting aspect, the players are now, they have the power.
You can tell somebody, they get to pick who they want to have recruit them.
And all it takes is a blocked phone call, a blocked text message, a blocked phone call, or a non-reply, because so-and-so has 150,000, and then this college has 235,000. They're talking the same plan time. Why are we even thinking about the lower tier? So those calls don't get returned. Where in our days, if you received a phone call, I was trying to, hey, you want to talk to my mom about this right now? Can we sign? I remember when Mankato called. I remember when Winona called. I remember those instances and being like, they really want us to come down there for a visit, and we went to the visit and all that, where now the kids is like, we'll see what they offer.
Ain't enough.
It ain't enough. Or somebody in their ear, the handlers are big these days too. So the handlers are like, let's wait it out. And then sometimes the kids jeopardize their opportunities because we've listened to this handler, and the handler didn't have the right information. And now everything's off the table, and you thought you were a $150,000 kid.
Or the handler has ill intentions.
You got it.
A different motive.
Which is 75% of the time. Oh, my God. Let me have 25% of that NIL.
Is that exploitation, though?
At some point. But that's on the parents as well.
True.
I put that back on the parents, like, make sure that you have a village around your child. And don't let the village come when the child gets the notoriety. Who worked the kid out in 5th and 6th grade? That's how they became the 9th and 10th grader they are. Those fundamental elements are what provided them this opportunity.
Absolutely.
So those are the people you need to go to. Who loves your kid without asking for anything?
When they were young, like at the basic level.
You got it. And I get it. You get into these big level AAU organizations and these big level situations where these newfound people do show love, and it generally is sometimes genuine.
Right.
But you got to be able to weed it out these days for sure with these parents. That's one of the hardest things for parents to do too. Who's there for my child seriously?
Yeah.
And who's there for the monetary gain?
Right.
Yep.
Do you see a lot of kids, just like, even like you say, you coaching younger grades and stuff like that? Have you seen like some kids at their earlier ages where just like they were like struggling to like get better, and then you seen them in 8th grade, 9th grade, and you're like, hold on.
Oh yeah.
This kid has actually got it. Like, like a late bloomer.
Yep. Oh my God, for sure. Plenty of them. And the biggest thing for them is they have somebody that's consistently working with them. That may see something that someone else doesn't see. But the work will show. That's what I always tell my boys too, is like, even if you don't get the notoriety right away, somebody's going to stop working when they get the notoriety, and that's when you can catch up.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So. I agree with that. So how long do you think you're going to be coaching?
I hope to do this until I can't do it.
Till you can't do it? Okay.
Yeah, man. So I hope to continue this. This is one of the most fun journeys that I've had in basketball. Obviously, playing professionally, playing in college is huge. But being able to see the development in our kids, being able to see them become more socially aware, being able to see them become successful outside of basketball has been the joy. My alumni come back and chop it up with me. I got a kid in college right now out in Waldorf playing.
Cartier?
You know at Cardi Par.
Graduate that boy.
Exactly,
8th
bro.
grade.
So isn't that huge, man?
Yes.
And he's on scholarship, man. So like,
when you told me about that, I was happy.
And that's one of my pride and joys, and he calls me whenever he has a conflict or whenever he has his highest scoring game, so those moments are the moments that I love the most. So that's what keeps you going. And then having those guys like Jalen, you saw at the game, keep coming around to support my boy, saying, you better listen to him. He got me this, he got us that, he got us this, or being in the program showed us this, showed us that.
That's a testament to you, man.
And just them, they're disciplined to stick with it, to see the other side.
Right.
So like I kudos them too, because I can preach at you all day, but it's on you to execute. It's on you to actually get out here and implement what you've learned.
Right.
And seeing our boys do that is huge. I got a couple just that hit me the other day with their semester grades at Whitewater. 3.8, 3.7. Coach, they about to pay me to go to school. Like, exactly. You ain't even playing a sport, dude. It's just about what we talked about, doing good in class.
Right. We're doing good.
It's easy, man. We just got to go. I'm like, that's half the battle.
Right.
So those are the things that keep me going. The motivation pieces for sure, man. Where like they hit you up and they just like, man, thank you for chewing me out that day, man. I needed that now. When I am in this bind, I don't even think twice. I know what to do.
For sure.
So it's huge.
For sure. So right now, I know you got a lot of like sophomores leading the pack right now.
Yes, sir.
This year. How do you feel about their development?
It's huge, man. So last year was my first losing season as a coach. So we all battled adversity. There was a lot that I took the blame for. There was a lot that had to do with their inexperience and just their lack of maturity. So over the summer, that's all we worked on: being a great man, making sure that your actions add up to what you say you want to do.
Yep.
Right, because you only are as good as you do, not as good as you say. So their maturity over the summer, being with me, they all play for Harrow in the summer. So being with me in the summer was big for them to see another side of me, to get to laugh and joke. You know, so we created a better bond. So my two leaders, which is Delvito and Breon, they were with me all summer. So now they understand how to lead. They had a leader named Rob, Rob Olive, who also molded them. He's been with me.
Got you.
So he's the senior leader, a captain of our team, one of the greatest kids I've ever coached, that implements everything I say and has created amazing opportunity for himself past high school. Once he graduates, he'll be set.
Right.
They also can now see that. His word of mouth tells them, you got to stick with it though. You can't quit. You can't do this.
Seeing
you can't
that
do
example, yeah.
So those examples are huge for them. So the growth over the summer has been big. They are bought in. They understand winning requires this, what we do.
Got you.
And now they're reaping the benefits. 9 games in, we have more wins than we had last year. Completely. So there's the proof in the pudding.
Right. Right.
It works.
Right.
But it's on you to implement it. I'm going to give you the resources. Are you going to execute? And that's the one thing we talk about in our program every day. Like, hey, we have the resources for you. It's on you to execute. It's on you to go home and dribble that basketball. It's on you to go home and pick that pencil up. So that's the biggest part for them. And I can't wait to see them as a senior group. But we enjoying the process right now, man. They've gotten a lot of notoriety this season. They've gotten better, and they're just smarter kids.
For sure. Did you, when you first met those kids, did you give them the whole Ben Hailey spiel, like in regards to your college or professional and things like that?
Yep.
Did they have questions about like, what did you do professionally? You know how they go?
Oh yeah. So this era is show me. This no tell me.
Right.
So you got to show them. So you got to go online, go to FIBA, all that stuff, pull all that up, show them the college prospectus, all that, and then the respect starts to happen. Luckily, I've got film and things from when I did play that I can show them, and I'm still active, so.
No, I just seen your story where you had, yeah.
Yeah, so they try me sometimes, and it's a couple of them I won't play because they're too good, but for the majority of them, I still get out there and play with them.
For sure.
So they can see that aspect of me too, but yeah, they always call me out like, Coach, what did you do? Show me. like do your Googles, man. Like you can look me up. I'm still out there. I wasn't that ancient.
Right.
I'm like the internet was still coming about when I was getting there. But
we got best of both worlds.
Exactly. So I was on the cusp. Like we was right there as it started. So you can still see some of the things from me. So they always ask about that too. But I always give them a synopsis of my upbringing, my experience, and then who I know. I always let them know, who I know for sure. And then those people a lot of times come and talk to them. And try to become mentors to them as well. So
for sure. What was it like playing like professionally for you?
Back in those days, you had to have a calling card to call home. So it was bad, bro. It was bad. A lot of us didn't last, man. Like that's why Jared went into coaching. Jared played in England for a few years. Brandon, Brandon played professionally for a couple years.
Yep.
So all of us, we played our 3 to 4 years, and then it was like, dude, this is too much, man. Especially for what we could get paid with our degrees. So it was like, now if we had FaceTime. If we had all the access that these guys had, it might be different. But, when you over in Luxembourg and it's 7 o'clock and you need to talk to moms, it's 2, 3 a.m. over there.
Was it a 7-hour difference or something like that?
Something crazy like that where you can't talk to them and you ain't got no money on that card. So, those things was the difference. But obviously, it was a great experience.
Right.
But, yeah, these days they got it made. And then you get four Americans on every team instead of 2. So the pickings are better, obviously in Spain and Turkey and the big leagues. Back in our day, you could have more than 2. But when you went to those B and C leagues, it was only 2 Americans. So everybody else was talking foreign. You like, huh? Like, don't go outside after 7. What? Like, okay. Like,
What?
so, oh my gosh, for sure, man. You got rules, and rules. Man. So they got it made now, and then the money's way better. So
Way
now
better
you go
now.
to Australia and get 450,000. Australia back in our day was 60. 60. You got to deal with all them bugs.
Oh my gosh, man, that is crazy, man. That is crazy. Another thing, a calling card.
Calling card, bro.
I forgot all about that.
I tell the boys, so it's funny because we just talked about MapQuest.
MapQuest, print it out.
And telling moms how to get to Indiana, Fort Wayne with the MapQuest. They like, yeah, right, coach. I'm like, yes, man.
We dating ourselves, bro.
I know. Hey,
You know that, right?
I know. That's
now we
okay.
can just pull it up and take us there.
Right there, anywhere we want to go.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So, got 2 questions for you. What's your favorite basketball moment from whether it be coaching, playing, or whatever? Like,
I'll give you 2. So, playing. I got a couple big ones, but one would be the shot I hit over Brown Deer.
okay.
So don't forget, I transferred from Brown Deer for a various amount of reasons.
Okay.
Shout out to Brown Deer, but left Brown Deer and was dominant at Dominican and went and played. Brown Deer was in our conference.
Yep.
Okay. So we was at the Parkland conference at the time. Down 3. Seconds left. JR drives, gets to the basket in the middle like he normally does. It's 4 of them. You know how JR commanded attention. 4 of them in there. I'm in the corner. I'm screaming. So if you ever watch me play, I scream at JR. He'll tell you, give me the ball. He wouldn't give it to me if I cherry picked up. But if I didn't cherry pick up, I get the ball. So I get the ball, knock it down, buzzer rings, and we go to overtime. 7 seconds left in overtime. JR at the free throw line. We down 1. JR misses the first free throw. Or no, makes the first free throw. We tie the game. Mm-hmm. He misses the second free throw. I grab the rebound. Time starts. Go up, finish the layup, and game over.
Game over.
Crowd floods the court. In the game.
Was this at Dominican?
At Dominican.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is my senior year, first time we played them at Dominican. So beating them, we went 3-1 against them in the 2 years that we played them. They beat us on a lucky shot at Brown Deer. But yeah, that was probably one of the best moments. And then I ran into the crowd and hugged moms. So moms was right there with her hands up. So I ran into the crowd, hugged moms. Then we ran back on there. At the time, once again, we dating ourselves crazy. JS Online had Preps Plus.
Preps Plus.
So Preps Plus was at the game. So me and JR got the interview after the game.
Beautiful.
That was one of our first interviews together. And then obviously we had a bunch more that senior year.
Right.
But, so that was huge. That was a dope moment for us. Beat Brown Deer.
Beat Brown Deer.
Yeah, so that was dope.
Dang, overtime and a game winner.
For sure.
And sweet because that was your former school. So.
Exactly, man. So
like
the
you said,
crowd was crazy. Sold out at Dominican, so it was cracking.
Man,
that was one of the good ones.
All right, so we pretty much kind of like talked about. You kind of like, kind of like told me some of your reasons and things like that. But the final question will be, what's your motive? Like, what's your reasoning for everything that you're doing?
To live in my passion and to develop our inner city youth. That's my motive, man. Being able to be blessed with all the opportunities that I've had, the connections that I've made, the people that I've met, being able to give back and have people younger than me be able to have a path better than mine is the focal point right now. Like knowing that I got only a certain amount of time left and you got more, you can do more. So let me pour into you exactly what you can be and how you can do it while working on myself. That's my motive, man. That's my biggest claim to fame. So if somebody mentions my name, I want them to say, like, he helped me or he was somebody that tried to help me.
For sure.
And the more of those type of people we create, the better our inner city kids is going to be, the more opportunities they're going to have, the less struggle they'll come from.
Yes.
So like I said, Rob Olive, that's somebody that he will be similar to me. I don't have to worry about anybody that he comes around because he's going to influence them the right way.
Right.
I want to create more of him.
Got you.
Create more of, those young men that create opportunity for others. Like, let me help you this. Or like you said, don't gatekeep.
Yes.
Let me give you the game. Let me give you the proper route and how to do it, instead of you trying to take all these obstacles and whatever. Here's a straight path to it. Let me give it to you.
Right.
So that would be my motive, man, for sure, to make sure I drive the inner city youth to greatness.
And you are on a track. You are doing that. I want to let you know that you are doing that, and I see that from how the boys respond. Mind you, I'm always observing, so I watch how the boys respond to you, no matter what the intonation in your voice, whether you gotta get on them or if you being mild mannered or if you in between. Like, it's always consistent. They respect you. They adhere to what you're saying. I can see him. I don't know if you've seen a clip that went viral where the coach was talking to the player and he was like really like focused in and locked in on them. I see that from your players, man. You know what I'm saying? That says a lot about the relationship you cultivated and the culture that you created, and the fact that you show up and you so consistent and you persistent about everything that you got going on. And you mentioned Rob, you mentioned Cartier, and these people like Cartier, like him calling back to you, like that says a lot about you. And I know you give a lot of credit to the kids for sure, but that shows your humility. And I wanted to champion you. And I'm glad that you ever come on to the What's Your Motive podcast, because I see it be. I see it be. Sure. Like, I see it. And I seen it from the first time when you reached out to me, like, hey, bro, why you ain't hit me about Ritter? I'm like, my bad, B. Like, I ain't even know. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I didn't want to feel like I was bothering you for Not something. All, yeah. But you just been so consistent with that. And it's just like look at my man's, like, doing his thing. So I'm just glad that you came on, man. I see what you're doing. Full support. Full support always and everything. I'm going to champion you in any room I'm in. Anybody I'm around for sure. Great guy, great man, family guy, coach, academic support person, at Messmer. You know what I mean? You see, the jersey you gave me as a throwback symbol. Yes, we lost because I was injured or whatever in the tie lot, you know. But it is what it is. I don't know if I'm going to get back out there this summer or not. But big back at Messmer, though. Yeah, back at Messmer for sure. We're going to do it again. But thanks again, man, for coming on, man. I really appreciate you, bro.
For sure, man. I appreciate you having me. This is such a dope platform. I'm blessed to have been able to come on. And keep doing what you're doing, bro, because you are motivating us in the community as well. Being able to see all these positive pillars in our community, it opens my eyes, too, to more and more that we got going on in Milwaukee that I can expose our boys to and our students to as well.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you as well, bro.
For sure, man. Thanks, man.
Of course.
Appreciate you. Until next time, what's your motive?
Thank you.
Peace.